Making headlines this hour. The president pays tribute to welfare of nurses to an unprecedented level. And the Maldives 2.0 apology. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz pays tribute to the nation's nurses, commending their dedication and invaluable service on the occasion of International Nurses Day. In a statement shared on social media, the president lauded their unwavering commitment to patient care, describing their work as a source of national pride. The annual observance on the 12th of May honors nurses worldwide, recognizing their contributions and sacrifices in the field of healthcare. President Muiz underscored their indispensable role, noting that nurses stand at the forefront of patient care, from admission to recovery, demonstrating steadfast professionalism and compassion. This year's theme, designated by the International Council of Nurses, is Our Nurses, Our Future. Caring for nurses strengthens economies. It highlights the demanding nature of nursing and the necessity of fostering supportive conditions for healthcare professionals, acknowledging their role in shaping a resilient healthcare system and a strong economy. Their presence in hospitals and clinics is more than a profession. It is a lifeline for patients in times of illnesses. The government, recognizing this essential initiatives aimed at increasing the proportion of Maldivian nurses to an unprecedented level, reaffirming his administration's commitment to addressing their concerns and improving their working conditions. His remarks, delivered in a statement marked day, underscored the government's the annual observance on May 12 sacrifices of nurses worldwide, pledging to advance initiatives aimed at strengthening their professional and personal well-being. Offering congratulations and commendations, the president praised the unwavering dedication of nurses, recognizing the immense responsibility they bear in serving humanity. He characterized nursing as a noble profession, one whose spiritual rewards, goodwill, and kindness far surpass financial remuneration. The sentiment carried into his social media post, where he reflected on the critical role nurses play in patient care. He stated that nurses remain at the forefront from the moment individuals seek treatment to their recovery and discharge. Their compassion and commitment, he noted, are a source of national pride. Closing his message, the president expressed his aspirations for the continued progress and success of Maldivian nurses. His administration, he affirmed, remains dedicated to ensuring their contributions are recognized and supported. The Maldives 2.0 Digital Transformation Summit concludes, marking a significant step in the government's ambitious effort to modernize public services and administration through technology. Over 3 days, policymakers, industry leaders, and international experts convened at Barcelona Sundra to discuss the nation's digital future and outline a strategy for transformative change. At the heart of the summit was the formal presentation of the National Digital Declaration to President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, who attended the closing ceremony as the guest of honor. The document, compiled from discussions among key stakeholders, sets forth the government's commitment to advancing digital infrastructure and governance. The Minister of Homeland Security and Technology, Ali Ihsan, presented the ceremonial conferral to President Muiz in the presence of senior officials, including Vice President Hussein Latif, Speaker of Parliament Abdul Rahim Abdullah, and Chief Justice Ahmad Muttasim Adnan. Cabinet ministers, senior government officials, and dignitaries, including representatives from the Estonian government, were also in attendance. The Maldives 2.0 initiative is a cornerstone of the president's strategic vision designed to drive sweeping digital reforms across all sectors and institutions. Launched under the president's special initiative, the project seeks to unify state institutions in the pursuit of fast, secure, and transparent services, ushering the Maldives into a new digital era. With a 3-year timeline, the government aims to implement smart digital reforms and innovations that will streamline public services and the overarching goal while elevating service standards, centered on several emphasis on safeguarding national digital infrastructure. Participants examined ways to facilitate secure digital transactions through internationally standardized digital IDs, ensuring seamless and protected exchanges. Another major focus was the development of a data exchange layer to enable timely and secure sharing of personal information between state institutions, improving efficiency and accessibility. The government will host Maldives Expo 2025 this month, an event that Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammed Saeed says will showcase locally produced goods, some intended for export, while underscoring the significance of domestic production in the tourism industry. Organized by the Business Center Corporation, or BCC, in collaboration with various agencies and institutions, the expo will take place from the 23rd to the 31st of May at Central Park in Hurumale. Minister Saeed underscored the significance of this year's event, describing it as markedly different from previous editions. Speaking to PSM News after reviewing preparations, he noted that the expo aims to demonstrate the productivity and skills of Maldivians while facilitating market access for local businesses. Beyond its focus on local industry, the expo will also feature international representation, with Sri Lanka and India confirmed as participating nations. The minister highlighted the inclusion of a dedicated marketplace designed to provide business owners with a platform to showcase their products to potential buyers and investors. A key objective of the expo is to reinforce manufacturing, particularly for goods required by the Maldivian tourism sector. Minister stated that the event will serve as a demonstration of the country's ability to produce essential items domestically while also highlighting products with export potential. The Ministry of Tourism and Environment signed an agreement with We Our Investment Private Limited to develop a hazardous wastes recycling and export center in Vandu of Ra Atoll. The agreement was signed on behalf of the Environment Ministry by the Ministry's Deputy Minister Hassan Mohammed, while We Our Investment Private Limited was represented by its office manager, Shadeen Ibrahim. Speaking to the media following the signing ceremony, Deputy Minister Hassan stated that the center will be developed with the financial support from the Global Environment Facility. He said the project is expected to cost $1.20 million and is scheduled to reach completion by March 2026. According to Hassan, the facility will categorize and divide hazardous waste and chemicals into 4 categories: lithium batteries, fire extinguishers, toxic waste, and pressure vessels. The Hazardous Waste Management Center will be built at the Regional Waste Management Center already established in Vandu. The new facility will include an office section, a waste storage section, and a recycling section. The government has also launched a broader project to manage hazardous waste in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, or UNDP, also with the financial assistance of the Global Environment Facility. Under this project, a legal framework will be established to manage hazardous chemicals imported into the Maldives, and a special system will be established to manage hazardous chemicals. The first hazardous waste management center in the Maldives was established in southernmost Addu city, while a similar center is currently under development in the Malé area. A contract has already been awarded to establish a center in the north. International flights to Maldives increases in the first 3 months of this year, coinciding with the surge in tourist arrival numbers during the period. According to the Maldives Monetary Authority, or MMA, a total of 4,880 flights were operated by international airlines in the first 3 months of this year, in comparison to the 4,628 during the same period last year, posting an increase of 5.4%. The airlines operated 4,444 scheduled flights to Maldives during the period. There were 4,141 scheduled flights during the same period last year, marking an increase of 7.3% so far this year. However, general flight movements have decreased in the first 3 months of the year, according to the central bank figures. The general flights movements recorded in the first quarter stood at 436 as opposed to 487 during the same period last year. According to the Ministry of Tourism, 866,462 tourists arrived in Maldives as of May, marking an 8% increase over the previous year. On average, 6,877 tourists visit Maldives daily, according to the ministry's tourism statistics. U.S. President Donald Trump hails talks with China in Switzerland on Saturday, May 10th, saying the two sides had negotiated a total reset in a friendly but constructive manner. Posting on his Truth Social platform, Trump added, quote, "We want to see, for the good of both China and the U.S., an opening up of China to American business. Great progress made," unquote. He did not elaborate on the progress. A source close to the discussion said earlier top U.S. and Chinese officials wrapped up the first day of talks in Geneva aimed at diffusing a trade war that threatens to hammer the global economy and plan to resume negotiations on May 11th. Neither side made any statements afterwards about the substance of the discussions nor signaled any specific progress towards reducing crushing tariffs as meetings at the residence of Switzerland's ambassador to the UN concluded. Palestinians in Khan Yunis mourns people killed in an Israeli airstrike in Al-Masawi area, which hit tents sheltering displaced Palestinians, according to relatives of the victims. Crying over the loss of her son, Jamil Al-Alami said he was sleeping along with his wife and children while they were sleeping. Israel resumed its offensive in March after the collapse of a U.S.-backed ceasefire that had halted fighting for 2 months. It has since imposed an aid blockade, drawing warnings from the UN that the 2.3 million population faces imminent famine. Israel's genocide has killed more than 52,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, according to Hamas-run health authorities, and reduced much of Gaza to ruins. According to Israeli tallies, the war began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas killed 1,200 people and took 251 hostages. Russian President Vladimir Putin proposes direct talks with Ukraine on May 15 in Istanbul that he said should be aimed at achieving a durable peace and eliminating the root causes of the war. Putin sent thousands of troops into Ukraine in February 2022, triggering the gravest confrontation between Russia and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. He said that Russia was proposing direct talks with Ukraine in Istanbul in an attempt to eliminate the root causes of the conflict and to achieve the restoration of a long-term, lasting peace. Major European powers threw their weight behind an unconditional 30-day Ukraine ceasefire on Saturday with the backing of U.S. President Donald Trump and threatened Putin with massive new sanctions if he did not accept within days. Trump, who says he wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, has repeatedly said he wants to end the bloodbath of the Russo-Ukrainian war, which his administration casts as a proxy war between the United States and Russia. Former U.S. President Joe Biden, Western European leaders, and Ukraine cast the invasion as an imperial-style land grab and repeatedly vowed to defeat Russian forces. Putin casts the war as a watershed moment in Moscow's relations with the West, which he says humiliated Russia after the Soviet Union fell in 1991 by enlarging NATO and encroaching on what he considers Moscow's sphere of influence, including Ukraine. Ukraine and European leaders agreed to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire on May 12 with the backing of U.S. President Donald Trump, threatening President Vladimir Putin with new massive sanctions if he failed to comply. The announcement was made by the leaders of Britain, France, Germany, Poland, and Ukraine after a meeting in Kiev, after which they held a phone call with Trump. The U.S. leader, who wants a rapid peace, has not commented publicly on the course of action. Following through on the threat would be a dramatic sign of growing Western unity after months of unpredictable U.S. policy that has seen Trump tear up the approach of his predecessor since entering the White House in January.
And so all of us here, together with the US, are calling Putin out. If he's serious about peace, then he has a chance to show it now by extending the VE-Day pause into a full, unconditional 30-day ceasefire, with negotiations to follow immediately once a ceasefire is agreed. No more ifs and buts, no more conditions and delays. Putin didn't need conditions when he wanted a ceasefire to have a parade, and he doesn't need them now.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told reporters at the news conference after their talks that he and the visiting leaders agreed on May 12 there must start an unconditional ceasefire. He added that it should cover air, sea, and land, and said that if Moscow refused, it would face new sanctions, including the strengthening of punitive measures targeting its energy and banking sectors. Macron said provided the ceasefire was to go ahead, it would be monitored mainly by the United States and European countries would contribute. He added there would be massive sanctions if Russia did not agree. The European leaders said the terms of a peace deal would be negotiated during the 30-day pause in fighting. On the eve of the summit, the U.S. Embassy in Kiev warned of a potentially significant air attack in the coming days and told its citizens to be ready to seek shelter in the event of air raid sirens. The visit falls on the final day of a May 8-10 ceasefire declared by Putin that Ukraine did not accept, denouncing it as a sham. Both sides have accused each other of violating it. An update on sports. Johann Zarco becomes the first Frenchman in 71 years to win the French Grand Prix after the LCR Honda rider's decision to start with wet tires paid off handsomely in front of a sellout crowd of more than 120,000 fans at Le Mans. In a chaotic race where riders swapped bikes multiple times due to rain, Zarco won by a huge margin of nearly 20 seconds ahead of Ducati's Marc Marquez, while Gresini Racing's Fermin Aldeguer came third for his first MotoGP podium. Zarco was 17th on lap 1 when he narrowly avoided a collision and lost places as he went off track. But as confusion and chaos reigned in the rain, the Frenchman slowly made his way through the grid before taking Monaret in 1954, and the 34-year-old celebrated by performing a backflip off the barrier in front of the grandstand as the fans chanted his name. The local fans had come hoping to see another Frenchman, pole sitter and 2021 world champion Fabio Quartararo, potentially win from pole position, but it was the veteran Honda driver who gave them a reason to celebrate. His victory also ended Ducati's winning streak in MotoGP at 22 races as Honda took a rare win. The race was initially red flagged when every rider entered the pits after the warm-up lap to swap bikes, with all of them on dry tires moving cautiously around the wet track after Quartararo nearly slipped and fell in greasy conditions. But after swapping bikes, several riders came back in on the sighting lap to switch machines again as the rain abated, risking the double long lap penalty rather than race on wet tires on a drying track. Saturday's sprint winner Marquez took the lead before Quartararo regained first place and shot ahead to extend the gap while the Spaniard josted for second with his brother Alex. Behind them, Francesco Bagnaia crashed at turn 3 along with Joan Mir, who retired from the race. Any hopes of Quartararo winning the race evaporated when he crashed at the final corner on lap 4 as groans echoed around the grandstand, leaving the Marquez brothers to battle it out for the lead. But both Mark and Alex went into the pits yet again to swap bikes for wet tires, leaving Zarco, who started on wet tires, with a commanding lead. In the Moto2 race, Manuel Gonzalez was once again crowned the winner for the 5th time in 6 races. Gonzalez lost the lead at the first corner, but by lap 5 was back in front and held on to the end. The Liqui Moly rider now has a 16-point lead at the top of the rider standings. And the drama continued into the Moto3 race, where race leaders Joel Kelso and David Munoz collided on the last corner of the race to give Red Bull KTM Ajo rider Jose Antonio Rueda a free track to the finish line. In an unusual discipline, Germany's best tilers competes for a spot in the European Championships hosted by Denmark in September. The participants of the German national tiling team had 27 hours to demonstrate their extraordinary skills. The winner will secure a place in the European Championships. The task, a counter with a motif of Lake Chiemsee, complete with a sailing boat and mountain panorama, had to be tiled with precision. The participants included some of the very best in the trade, including Louis Braune from North Rhine-Westphalia, who secured the title of German runner-up in 2023, and the 2023 German champion Philipp Schlegel, 23, from Saxony-Anhalt. The national tiling team was founded in the 1980s to make the profession more attractive. At the European Championships in Denmark in September, the winner of the qualifying tournament at Chiemsee will face strong competition. According to Bayer, the teams from Austria, Switzerland, and the host country Denmark are considered the favorites. The exact task will only be announced on the first day of the competition, which demands maximum flexibility and skill from the participants under time pressure. That's all the news we have for today. We will be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.
ತಮ್ಸೀಲುಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ಕಿ ಫಿಕ್ರುಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ ತಮ್ಸೀಲುಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ಕಿ ಖಿಯಾಲುಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ ತಮ್ಸೀಲುಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ಕಿ ಉಫೆದ್ದನ್ ತೆರಿಕಮ್ಗೆ ದಾಯಿರಾಯ್ ತಮ್ಸೀಲ್ ಬುಣೆದೆನಿ ಎಬೈಗೆ ಅಮಿಲ್ಲವಂತಕ ಎಬೈಗೆ ಅಮಿಲ್ಲ ದಿರಿಯುಳುಮ ತಾರೀಖ ಮಾಜಿಯ ಎಬೈಗೆ ತೆರೆಗ ಹುರಿ ಮಸ್ಸಲತ